Well, last winter in the high school literature class, we read Michael Pollan's In Defense of Food. In that book, he details an experiment that was done in Australia where a group of Aborigines went back out into the bush and changed their diet from a Western diet to what they ate naturally in the bush. And it was a 7-week experiment. And after we read that, the high school kids said, well, we ought to do that here.
Well, the local Native Foods Challenge grew out of a school project. So the upper class wanted to see how participants would do health-wise after 6 weeks of going back to a local foods or traditional foods diet. And I signed on to it as a participant to help the students in their study out, as well as a lot of community members were up for the challenge, challenging each other, kind of a team sport to see if we could do it together.
We have the resources here in Western Alaska to do that. And so we pitched that idea to the community, and the community was all for it. And so we got right on it and started doing some health screenings, started working on preparing subsistence foods for this 6-week food challenge. And we sort of call it the kind of an Alaskan food challenge, a native food challenge, traditional food challenge, local food challenge, and it kind of ties in with our local greenhouse here and our experiments in agriculture through the village.
I think I can safely say statewide a lot of remote Alaska Natives suffer from diabetes and obesity, and a lot of it is due to lack of fresh produce. And we started growing zucchinis and squash and Brussels sprouts, and a lot of people in our community didn't even know how to grow them or had never even seen them before. So I think we've all learned a lot about different types of vegetables and different ways to prepare, and we share recipes with each other on things we've eaten. And my mom, who's never eaten kale in her life, has become a kale addict, which I think is really good for her.
So what we started in January, after the kids pitched the idea to the community and the community was on board, we turned this into a sort of a scientific project where all the participants, and we had 30 people sign up for this. We started these health screenings at the local village clinic run by South Central Foundation.
So we began with a baseline evaluation at the clinic. My baseline was only blood pressure, blood sugar level, body weight, and blood pressure. I went in after 7 days of the foods challenge to do an initial screening. I had lost 7 pounds and 30 blood sugar points. And then by the end of 6 weeks, I felt the best I had felt in at least 10 years. I was down 13 pounds. My blood pressure dropped at least 10 points, and my blood sugar had stayed low, and I just felt really, really good.
Another component of this project is that we'll be going on a trek to Big Mtn, which is sort of a meeting point, our village and another village to the east of us, and it's culturally and historically it's an important piece of land, and so we wanted to also go on this hike, see some of the cultural and history sites of this area, and I think it'll help us out in our kind of local native foods to be out, in tune more with the natural world during this. I think it's going to be hard, but everybody's gearing up for it, and the hike's about 22 miles, and it will culminate with a native foods potluck at Big Mtn.
The decision to try and do this for 6 weeks, we thought, look at everything we have, all the variety of wild foods. We've been learning more about wild plants in our areas, how to harvest them and preserve them, and what their health and medicinal benefits are for us. And so we've been really excited about that. And then we looked at the bounty of what we can produce with our growing operation here and compare that with what the kids were learning in school, and we thought we could do it. And we are doing it.
I guess it starts out with subsistence, the activity of subsistence, and how important it is to the culture out here and to the people out here, and how that activity you really have to focus and be dedicated to the preservation of your food. And historically, culturally, that was, it's a big deal. And I think through this community project, it's also, we're a week into this food challenge where we've switched our diet, and I think, communities grow stronger through shared adversity. Me personally, I've noticed just how the different food addictions that I have personally, and I know other people are struggling this first week. And so I think one of the goals is to, increase the health of our individuals, increase the health of our community, and most importantly, show the kids and bring the kids along with what we're doing. Their idea to kind of start this whole project, and so the adults have really done a good job of taking lead, taking ownership of this project.
Before I became the tribal administrator, the village had worked since 2000 on community visioning and comprehensive community planning. And all of the surveys and data that returned showed that villagers really wanted a greenhouse. So in 2008, the first grant that we won was an Alaska Marketplace Award to do a greenhouse. And that built the initial greenhouse. And then it took funding from at least 8 different agencies, as well as at least $100,000 of our own finances, and land provided to us for free by the Native corporations.
The greenhouse is a very educational building as well. The school kids come in and the kids love it in here. They love planting seeds in the spring and they love harvesting throughout the summer. They'll show up in water for us. I think it's been a really good learning experience.
A number of years ago, the village built a greenhouse and got chickens, and they wanted to start being in charge of their food a little more. And now that area of production has increased, we added 2 new greenhouses last summer and 3 new production fields. And the village has done an outstanding job of working with the school and getting the community and the kids involved in the food production.
Tradition at the end of the season when we're ready to harvest potatoes, and usually we have pretty rainy falls like this, and I invite the littlest kids, the primaries we call them, from preschoolers on up to 2nd and 3rd graders to come out, and they just love digging up potatoes. So in exchange for the labor, I grow them pumpkins every year. So I have a little pumpkin patch over there in the tunnel, and we draw lots, and the kids get 1st and 2nd choice, 3rd choice on a pumpkin. They're getting a real kick out of it, and I get a kick out of watching them have so much fun.